Imagine this. You are sitting across from him, the man you cherish, the one whose presence usually fills you with a quiet contentment. But tonight, the air between you is thick with unspoken words, a heavy blanket woven from his silence. His eyes, typically alight with shared laughter or thoughtful consideration, now hold a distant, almost opaque quality. You ask him about his day, about his thoughts, about anything at all, and the responses are clipped, evasive, or worse, met with a profound, unsettling quiet. This isn't the comfortable silence of intimacy. This is the silence of something concealed, something withheld. Have you ever felt that gnawing sensation, that cold certainty that the man in front of you is a fortress, his heart a vault, and you're locked outside despite being right there? This isn't about fleeting moods or introversion. This is about the unsettling weight of what he's really hiding from you. Consider the subtle dance of a relationship where one partner becomes a locked book, their pages turned inward. Amelia, a woman whose spirit was as vibrant as the blossoming wisteria that adorned her cottage, found herself entangled in this very predicament with her partner, Thomas. Their initial courtship had been a symphony of shared dreams and open vulnerability. Thomas, a man of quiet charm and artistic sensibilities, had captivated her with his thoughtful gaze and the gentle way he listened. Yet, as the seasons turned and their lives intertwined, a subtle shift began. It started innocently enough, a missed detail about his day, a vague answer to a simple question. Soon, these small omissions grew into larger chasms, until Amelia found herself navigating a landscape of silent, unspoken truths. One evening, after a particularly trying week at her architectural firm, Amelia sought solace in Thomas's presence. She recounted a difficult client meeting, her voice laced with frustration, hoping for his usual comforting embrace or a listening ear. Thomas, however, remained absorbed in his sketchpad, his charcoal scratching rhythmically against the paper. When she finally paused, a heavy silence hung in the air. "Are you all right?" she prompted gently, a flicker of concern replacing her earlier frustration. He merely grunted, not looking up. "Just thinking," he mumbled, a wall of quiet descending between them. Amelia felt a sharp pang, a sense of isolation even while sitting beside him. It wasn't just his words. It was the entire posture of his being, a subtle retreat that spoke volumes. The incident, though seemingly minor, was a microcosm of a larger, more troubling pattern. As the days bled into weeks, Amelia observed Thomas's silence growing deeper, more pervasive. He would spend hours in his studio, ostensibly creating, but his energy when he emerged felt drained, his eyes hollow. She tried to bridge the gap, to coax him out, offering shared meals, walks in the park, even simply sitting in companionable quiet. But each attempt felt like knocking on a door that remained stubbornly bolted. His responses became monosyllabic, his gaze averted. It was as if a part of him, vibrant and engaged, had simply vanished, leaving behind a husk. One afternoon, Amelia stumbled upon a crumpled letter in Thomas's wastebasket. It was from a gallery, a rejection notice for an exhibition he had worked tirelessly on. A wave of understanding, tinged with a deeper sadness, washed over her. He had been rejected, and instead of sharing his disappointment, he had retreated into a shell of silence, shielding himself from the perceived shame or failure. The revelation brought a fresh wave of questions. Why the secrecy? Why the inability to share such a fundamental human experience of setback and vulnerability? It became clear that his silence was not just a lack of communication, but a deliberate act of concealment, a self-imposed exile from shared emotional terrain. This was the silent burden he carried, the pain he believed he had to endure alone, projecting an image of stoicism that was slowly suffocating their connection. This deep-seated reluctance to expose vulnerability, to share the internal landscape of pain or perceived failure, speaks to a deeply ingrained archetype. Such a man, often embodying the hero archetype in his public persona, struggles immensely with the shadow archetype of perceived weakness or imperfection. He believes, perhaps unconsciously, that revealing his struggles will diminish him, make him less worthy of love or respect. This is where the principles of Carl Jung resonate profoundly. The man's silence is a fortress built not to keep others out, but to keep his own shadow aspects, his fears, his disappointments, his perceived inadequacies, from being exposed. He engages in an elaborate ego projection, believing that if he hides his pain, it simply ceases to exist for others, and therefore for himself. This behavior, while seemingly protective, ultimately isolates him and prevents true individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated self. What happens when a man consistently hides his true emotional state, his vulnerabilities, and his internal struggles? He creates a rift, a chasm of misunderstanding that widens with every unspoken word. For you, the woman on the other side of that silence, it can be an excruciating experience, breeding doubt, resentment, and a profound sense of loneliness within the very relationship meant to offer connection. You might find yourself questioning your own intuition, wondering if you are overreacting, or if you are simply not enough to elicit his trust. This is a common trap, dear viewer, a self-blaming narrative that the silence often inadvertently creates. To navigate this terrain, you must first recognize that his silence is not a personal attack, but a deeply ingrained coping mechanism, often rooted in past experiences or societal conditioning that has taught him to suppress emotional expression. It is not about you being unlovable. It is about him struggling to love himself authentically, flaws and all. Instead of demanding answers, consider creating a safe space for him to slowly, gradually unfurl. This doesn't mean enabling his avoidance, but rather offering an unwavering presence that communicates, "I see you," even when you're hidden. Sometimes, the most powerful communication happens not through words, but through persistent, loving presence, a gentle insistence on connection that doesn't overwhelm but simply is. Are you willing to be that unwavering presence, to hold space for the truth to emerge, not with force, but with patience and understanding? Type continue to receive the next part. Continue. The silent fortress, as we've explored, often shields a deeper landscape of unaddressed emotion. But beyond the immediate pain of unspoken truths lies another layer of complexity. The quiet erosion of self-worth that occurs when one continually sacrifices their own needs for the illusion of harmony. This brings us to the second aspect of what he's really hiding from you: the unacknowledged emotional burden he places upon you, and the subtle ways this diminishes your own spirit. It's the hidden weight you carry, the unspoken compromises that chip away at your authenticity. Consider the profound insight offered by Carl Rogers, a pioneer in humanistic psychology, who posited that true growth and connection thrive in an environment of unconditional positive regard and empathic understanding. He famously stated, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change." While Rogers often applied this to individual growth, its inverse is equally true in relationships. When one partner consistently withholds their authentic self, particularly their struggles, the other partner is often left in a state of perpetual uncertainty, unable to fully extend that unconditional regard because they lack the complete picture. This creates a psychological vacuum, where the unexpressed anxieties and burdens of one individual are subtly absorbed by the other, often without conscious awareness. Imagine Sarah, a woman of profound empathy and a natural inclination to nurture. Her partner, Mark, was a man of immense professional drive, seemingly unshakable in his ambition. Yet, beneath this veneer of strength, Mark carried a deep-seated fear of failure, a relic from a childhood where only exceptional achievement garnered praise. He rarely spoke of his anxieties about work, preferring to project an image of unwavering confidence. Sarah, attuned to the slightest shifts in his mood, would sense his underlying stress. She would find herself instinctively tiptoeing around certain topics, carefully curating their conversations to avoid anything that might trigger his hidden anxieties. If he was quiet, she'd assume it was work-related and offer him space, often at the expense of sharing her own day's trials. If he seemed withdrawn, she'd redouble her efforts to create a peaceful home environment, believing she was helping him de-stress, when in reality, she was taking on the unspoken weight of his emotional burden. This pattern, though born of love and a desire to support, became a subtle form of self-erasure for Sarah. She found herself constantly monitoring Mark's emotional thermostat, adjusting her own behavior, her own desires, to maintain a precarious balance. Her lively anecdotes from her day became shorter, less detailed. Her dreams for weekend adventures were often shelved if Mark seemed even slightly preoccupied. She became an exquisite emotional detector, perpetually scanning for the invisible cues of his unspoken struggles. This was not a conscious decision on Mark's part, but the insidious effect of his unacknowledged emotional hiddenness. Sarah's own needs, her own vibrant emotional landscape, began to recede into the background, like a vibrant painting slowly fading under a constant, subtle light. She found herself feeling increasingly drained, not from overt conflict, but from the relentless, quiet effort of anticipating and managing emotions that weren't her own, emotions that were never truly articulated by him. The joy she once found in spontaneous expression dwindled, replaced by a cautious self-censorship, a constant weighing of her words and actions against his unspoken emotional state. This dynamic illustrates a powerful psychological principle. When an individual consistently suppresses their own emotional reality, they often, unconsciously, create an environment where others feel compelled to do the same, or to absorb that unexpressed burden. It is a quiet yet potent form of emotional labor. The man who hides his struggles, fearing judgment or weakness, inadvertently projects a subtle expectation onto his partner. The expectation that she will fill the void, interpret the silence, and carry the unburdened weight. This is a subtle yet profound violation of trust, not of explicit secrets, but of the fundamental intimacy that arises from mutual vulnerability. His hiddenness becomes a heavy cloak, not only for him but for the relationship itself, stifling authentic expression and creating a hidden asymmetry of emotional effort. Are you recognizing echoes of this in your own experience? This quiet diminishment of your own effervescent spirit in the face of his unspoken burdens? The individual described here, often embodying aspects of the pure eternus or perfectionist archetype, struggles with the natural oscillations of human experience, particularly the acceptance of imperfection and vulnerability. His inability to articulate and process his own emotional landscape, often rooted in an underdeveloped anima, the unconscious feminine principle in men, representing emotion, intuition, and relationality, leads him to externalize the burden onto his partner. He might genuinely believe he is protecting her from his worries, when in reality, he is preventing genuine intimacy and fostering a silent, emotional codependency. His unconscious fear of being perceived as weak or inadequate results in a subtle yet significant emotional withdrawal, compelling his partner to assume the role of emotional caretaker and interpreter. For you, dear viewer, recognizing this dynamic is the first step towards reclaiming your emotional sovereignty. Understand that his unacknowledged burden, while not malicious, is still a burden you are not obligated to carry in silence. The solution lies not in forcing him to open up, which can often backfire, but in consciously, gently, and consistently reprioritizing your own emotional well-being. This involves a compassionate but firm boundary setting, where you acknowledge his emotional state without fully internalizing it. It means allowing yourself the space to express your own thoughts, feelings, and needs, even if they momentarily disrupt the peace of his silence. It's about practicing a form of Stoic wisdom in reverse, recognizing what is within your control, your own emotional responses and expressions, and what is not, his willingness to open up. Your task is to cultivate your own inner garden, to nourish your own spirit, independent of his unspoken weather patterns. How will you begin to assert your own needs and emotional space, even in the face of his continued silence, thus inviting a more authentic dance of reciprocity? Type continue to receive the next part. Continue. We've delved into the profound impact of a man's silence, how it conceals his inner struggles and subtly burdens your spirit. Now, we arrive at the third and most crucial aspect of what he's truly hiding, the latent potential for profound transformation that lies dormant within his unspoken truths, and the immense power you hold to catalyze this awakening, not through force, but through the alchemy of self-love and courageous authenticity. This isn't about changing him, but about empowering yourself to inspire his own journey toward wholeness. Consider the timeless wisdom embedded in the Stoic philosophy, particularly the teachings of Epictetus, who argued that true freedom lies not in controlling external events, but in mastering one's own internal responses. While often applied to individual resilience, this principle holds a mirror to relational dynamics. When a man silences his inner world, he is, in essence, attempting to control the unpredictable flow of emotion by suppressing it. He projects an image of self-sufficiency, often believing that to reveal vulnerability is to lose control. Yet, as Epictetus would suggest, this very attempt at control paradoxically makes him a slave to his unacknowledged fears. The true liberation, both for him and for the relationship, begins when the silent partner confronts the illusion of control and recognizes that genuine strength lies in authentic self-expression. For you, the woman facing this silence, your power doesn't come from breaking down his walls, but from embodying the very freedom and authenticity he unconsciously yearns for. Let us return to Amelia, whose journey we previously observed. After recognizing the subtle ways Thomas's silence was diminishing her, a profound shift began to occur within her. She started to reclaim her own voice, not in accusation, but in genuine self-expression. She enrolled in a pottery class she'd always dreamed of taking, dedicating time each week to this creative outlet. She began sharing her own experiences, her joys, and her frustrations with her trusted friends, rebuilding the external emotional support system she had inadvertently neglected while focusing solely on Thomas. She started saying no to small requests that would compromise her time or energy if she genuinely felt overwhelmed, articulating her needs with a newfound clarity, devoid of apology. This wasn't a sudden, dramatic confrontation, but a series of quiet, resolute acts of self-reclamation. One evening, after returning from a particularly invigorating session at her pottery studio, Amelia was humming a tune, covered in clay dust but radiating a vibrant energy. Thomas, predictably, was in his studio, the familiar silence emanating from behind its closed door. Instead of her usual deferential quiet, Amelia decided to continue her hum, a melody of contentedness, as she cleaned up. Later, as she was preparing dinner, she spoke aloud, not to him directly, but to the space, sharing a humorous anecdote from her class. "You wouldn't believe," she chuckled. "I almost threw my pot across the room today, but then something just clicked, and it found its center." She didn't expect a response, but then Thomas emerged from his studio, his eyes, for the first time in a long while, meeting hers with a glimmer of curiosity. "Pottery, huh?" he murmured, a rare, soft note in his voice. It was a tiny crack in the wall, a ripple in the profound silence. This seemingly insignificant interaction marked a turning point. It wasn't about Amelia forcing Thomas to speak. It was about her embodying her own individuation, her own vibrant self, which created an energetic space for him to consider stepping out of his own self-imposed exile. Her actions were a living testament to the truth that vulnerability and genuine expression were not weaknesses, but sources of strength and joy. Slowly, imperceptibly, Thomas began to respond to this shift. He started to spend less time cloistered in his studio, sometimes even observing Amelia as she worked on her pottery. One day, he brought her a small, perfectly smooth stone he had found on a walk, a silent offering, a nascent expression of connection that transcended words. Eventually, he began to share fragments of his own artistic struggles, not in grand declarations, but in hesitant, almost whispered admissions. The shift was not immediate or dramatic, but it was real, catalyzed by Amelia's unwavering commitment to her own authenticity, her own healing. Her decision to stop carrying his unspoken burden allowed him the space to begin carrying his own, and in doing so, to begin the long journey of confronting his own shadow. The man who hides his truth, the one cloaked in silence, often embodies the wounded healer archetype, albeit an unconscious one. His silence is a testament to unaddressed traumas or deeply ingrained societal conditioning that equated emotional expression with weakness. He projects an image of stoicism, often an overcompensation for an underlying fear of judgment or rejection. This behavior, rooted in a fragmented ego, prevents him from fully integrating his own experiences, particularly the painful ones. His inability to articulate his inner world means he is trapped in a cycle of emotional self-regulation that ultimately stifles his growth and limits the depth of his relationships. True healing pain for him, therefore, requires a courageous confrontation with these hidden aspects of himself, often spurred by the unwavering authenticity of a partner who refuses to participate in the charade of silence. He needs to learn that true strength lies not in suppression, but in the vulnerability of truth. For you, dear viewer, the path forward is not one of demanding or dissecting, but one of becoming. Become the embodiment of the very liberation you wish to see. Practice radical self-love, understanding that your worth is not contingent on his openness. Embrace your own emotional landscape, express your needs with clarity and compassion, and commit to your own individuation. This means engaging in practices that nurture your spirit, whether it's creative pursuits, physical activity, meditation, or spending time in nature. When you prioritize your own well-being, when you radiate self-acceptance, you create an energetic field that is deeply inviting, a safe harbor where fear can slowly dissipate. It is a powerful act of love, not just for yourself, but for the potential of the relationship itself. The silence that once felt like a barrier can, in fact, become a catalyst. When you stop chasing his hidden truths and start living your own, you transform the very dynamic between you. His silence, once a heavy weight, can transform into a quiet invitation for him to find his own voice, to dismantle his own walls, because he sees, in you, the living proof that vulnerability is not a weakness, but the very foundation of genuine connection and profound joy. Your internal power, your commitment to positive thoughts eliminating negative ones, transforms not just your world, but the very possibility of his. This journey of transformation is not about forcing an outcome, but about creating the conditions for authentic connection to emerge, rooted in your own strength and self-respect. Are you ready to embark on this journey of self-reclamation, to become the beacon that illuminates the path for both yourself and for him, inviting a silent transformation that resonates with the deepest truths of the human spirit? Embrace your power, trust your intuition, and watch as the hidden truths begin to surface, not with a bang, but with the quiet, potent power of a new dawn. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with other friends to spread valuable insights in life. Thank you for listening. The END.